What you need to know to solve problems in your project. My name is Guilherme and I'm a project management expert. I help professionals to become successful project managers. In other words, what I do? Well, I help people struggling with project management. Maybe they're struggling to understand something, maybe they're struggling with certain type of skills, or maybe they're struggling already in practice, like working as a project manager and they have a problem in their project. They need support or they need a mentor to help them to develop and to understand the project and start to tackle it in a better way to have a better results. Or they want to start working with project management, developing their skills, preparing a CV, prepare for any interviews. So that's how I help professionals to become project managers. So there's all different types of way I do that via mentoring, via development programs. So if you need support with project management, I'm here to support you. The topic I'm going to discuss today is how to solve problems into your project and what you need to know to solve problems into your project. First of all, if you are wondering, every project will have problems. So if your project has an issue, if your project has a problem, it's not the end of the world. You're not alone there. All projects have problems. And if you're wondering why, because that's just the nature of projects. Because if everything was easy and straightforward, it could be a directly processed without any project management or without any support. But what happens if you're developing something new, which is the case of usually is the case with a project, or if you're managing a type of change, you need a project manager there to help in the process. So having problems is not a problem. Maybe it's a weird way to say it, but first thing that you need to think about it. That's it. It's not a problem if you have a challenge there in your project. If you have a problem, if you have risk, having risks and issues it's part of any type of project. So don't need to be concerned and say I don't want to have any risk or I don't want to have any issue. That does not exist. Of course, there's different levels of risks and issues that you're going to face. There are some normal issues that can be solved in the team. There are some a lot of issues that will pop up that they don't come from the team, they just come from the external environment, maybe from suppliers, from manufacturing sites, from changes in the market. And there are other types of issues that will come from miscommunication with the team, miscommunication with the customer, and so on. But keep that in mind that it's not a challenge to have a problem, and that means that you can have you can have a lot of or you can have risks and issues in your project, and your project can be still be green, meaning that your project still have the KPIs, key performance indicators on track. Or it can be that you have challenges in your risks and issues in your project and your project is yellow, meaning that it needs more attention and might need some extra support from the organization. Or it might be that the project is red, but that does not say anything about you. So start thinking by that because then you already give the first steps that you need to go into the right direction. And when you talk about, so everyone will face risks, issues, challenges, and problems. And something that's very important that you understand you are hired as a person to solve problems. Why I'm saying that you are hired to solve problems? Because solving problems it's a very important way to add value for organizations. Bigger the type of problems that you can solve, higher the value that you can add for an organization. Higher the value that you can add for an organization, higher the payment that you're going to get. So the your salary or your salary is directly connected in a way for what types of value that you're going to be able to solve it. That's why when you have a junior project manager, kind of the salary is also lower than a senior project manager. Why? At least in theory, I know that sometimes the practice does not, life does not follow the theory, but in theory, a senior project manager can handle more complex projects. What more complex project means? More complex problems. So more complex problems means also more value added when you solve them. That's why usually you expect a senior to have a higher salary than a junior. And again, just a parenthesis because does not mean just because you're a junior that you cannot outperform a senior. I've seen this done in practice, and I think I did it myself when I was a junior. But of course, I'm kind of biased in looking into that. But it's important for you to keep that in mind. So you're going to have a lot of problems. You're paid to solve problems. That's the way you're going to add value for the organization. So how do you solve them? And here I'm presenting to you basically two different perspectives in solving problems. One is called the 8 steps for practical problem solving. That comes more from lean management, and they develop those 8 steps and they put this into the PDCA. The PDCA cycle. PDCA, if you don't know, it's Plan, Do, Check, Act. And they put how to solve a problem following a PDCA. But you also have other methodology that's very used in manufacturing environments like automotive, semiconductor. It's and if you doubt it, I've worked already in both of those industries. That's how I know it. The D stands for 8 discipline. Here's the idea that usually if you have a manufacturing environment, very likely you are going to need a multidisciplinary team. So you have those two methodologies here, or those two process to solve problems there. And why I'm comparing the two of them? Because I want to give you an overview on them and explaining what's really important for you to understand. And then I'm going to also make some additional considerations that's very important while you're facing challenges there. First thing that you have, let's talk about the 8 steps of practical problem solving. Then the first step is clarify the problem. Let's make sure that you understand the problem that you're trying to solve it. Why this is important? Let me make a very simple analogy here. Let's assume that you have a car, you're driving your car, and suddenly your car stops. Then you call a triple A or you call any road assistance, and then you say my car just stopped. And before, hopefully, if you have a good road assistance there, before they just call a tow to pull in your car and bring to the garage, they might take a look in what's going on to understand what type of problem do you have. If it's a problem that's possible to fix it there, or if it's a problem that they need to go to the garage because you need to replace something in the engine or any other part of the car. But why is so important that you understand what's the problem that you need to solve there? Because if you do not understand what you are trying to solve there, you can come up for a lot of different solutions, then it's not going to work. In this case, you're going to clarify the problem there to understand, okay, your car stopped. Then what you're going to do next? You're going to start to break down the problem. That's what you have the step here to try to understand, okay, how did your car stop it? It was the engine was working on and it stopped it, or you already could not turn the car in? Because they might help you to identify what's the different type of problem that you're facing there. And then of course, so clarifying the problem, it's very important to make sure that you understand what you need to do there. Then you are going to set a target, in this case what you want to solve, and then you are going to analyze the root cause to solve this problem if you're following 8 steps for problem closing. Why it's important to analyze the root cause? Because this is first you need to understand what you are trying to solve it. Then you need to understand what's causing the problem there. In the analogy of the car, why it's so important to analyze the root cause? And that's of course one of the most important things that you're going to see in any type of problem solving methodology there, because you can only solve the problem if you understand this cause. So in the case of the car, what are the possible causes why your car is not running? Maybe if your car cannot turn in, maybe you're out of battery. So the you can just replace the battery and the car will work again. Maybe you're out of fuel. That's why the car is not working. So that's a different type of solution. Maybe the engine has a problem there that needs to be fixed. Maybe the car is not it's not running because you don't have the key. And of course, I'm exaggerating. No one would try to say that the car is not working because you don't know how to turn the car in with the key. But that showcases that there are hundreds of different reasons why your car might not be working in the analogy I'm making here. And what does it mean? There's hundreds of different types of solutions that you're going to do. So instead of saying, okay, let's fuel the car, let's say, okay, but I already have gasoline. So this type of solution does not work for the problem that I have. Let's change the battery. Yeah, but my battery is new. I just check the levels there and everything is working. Then you can start to break. That's also the breakdown and understanding the root cause. It's so important because only once you understand the root cause, you're going to be able to solve the issue here. And of course, analyze the root cause. Then you follow the 8 steps. You develop countermeasures. What are those countermeasures? Something that's going to be able to solve the root cause of your problem. In the case of the car, your car is not working because the battery is dead. What's the countermeasure? Replace the battery. So what's the solution there? Replace the battery. Then the next one, so you have this in a planning phase. The do, of course, it's make sure that you change the battery. The check, you're going to make sure that okay, now the car is working. And of course, you can standardize the success that you have here and to repeat it again in the future. In a very brief way, because of course you can go much deeper in this problem solving. In a very brief way, that's how the 8 steps for problem solve works. For the 8D problem solution, let me go very quickly to it, then I'm going to explain why I'm showing both. First step is you have a team to solve the problem. Second step, define and describe the problem. Again, what you are doing, define and describe the problem. You want to clarify the problem to make sure you understand the issue that you have. Second one, because this comes from a manufacturing environment, contain the problem. Or the third one, sorry. Why this is so important? Because if you are producing millions of parts and you find an issue in your production line, and again, this comes also from the lean mindset here, you need to stop the problem. Why? Because can you imagine, for example, I'm working in a semiconductor company right now. For some types of products, they produce in 1 year more than 100 million of pieces. Yes, you heard it right, 100 of millions of pieces. Can you imagine if there's one problem, you produce 50 million of pieces that does not work, or they have a quality issue there, and you spread all over the world 50 million of pieces for all the different kind of customers that you have. Can you imagine the cost that to replace that? So containing the problem is very important, and I've already mentioned this in other type of problem. There's a very simple analogy that you can make to understand that. Why containing is problem it's important? Because let's assume that it's a house, the house starts to burn it. What do you want to do? Control the fire or stop the fire. Then you are going to, the next step, you are going to then identify and describe to understand what happened. That's why the 8D problem solving is so much used in manufacturing environments, because you have this idea: create a team, understand the problem, contain the problem. After you contain the fire there, okay, I just stopped the fire. Let's understand what happened, what's the root cause, what corrective actions that you need to implement it, and then you are going to implement the actions, validate that this works to avoid that you have another fire there. Um, and of course, then you are going to take what kind of other action that you can take to prevent these there, meaning that you are going to put like a fire alarm, that you are going to put splinters to contain the fire, that they are not going to grow in the future, and of course, congratulate the team and you're going to celebrate it. But to my point here, so if you look for those different methodology or different approach to solve problems, the thing that you have very much in common there, you need to understand the problem. I think there's even, if you do not understand the problem, you're going to try to find out different solutions for something that you don't know. It's like, oh, my car is not working. Then you're going to do all types of solutions, analyzing the root cause. Oh, my car is not working. That cannot be the problem. You need to have at least a better definition there. Okay, I can, or let me pick another analogy. Say, oh, I cannot use my car. Why you cannot use your car? Let's understand the problem there. Because your car is not working, because you have a flat tire, because you don't know how to drive the car, or because you are not with your car right now. So those are different the problem definitions, which is very important that you understand that. So once you have an understanding of the problem, and again, this is very important, but also it's a team effort. In the 8 steps of practical problem solving, they do not mention that. And of course, if you do the full training, because there's a training on that. If you do the full training, yes, they talk about the team, how you're going to collaborate with your team, make sure that you have experts in the team to solve it. But yeah, in the steps itself, it's not highlighted. That's why I just mentioned that. But you see here in the 8D, yes, it's saying you need to have a team because it should not be only you and correlate in making the connection here with project management. If you're working a project, it's a team sport, meaning that you cannot do everything by yourself. The same way you should not do a risk management by yourself, you should not do create a timeline by yourself, you should not work on business case only by yourself. You should collaborate with your team. That's a very fundamental thing that you need to understand there. And the second part, after you understand the problem, what you basically have. Of course, you can contain the problem depending on the type of issue that this is fundamental, and depending on the type of problem that the containing part might be different. Usually, if you're working in a project, you need to contain the problem. How? It can be like if there's a conflict in your team, you cannot think about a lot of solutions and let the conflict go wild there. So you need to find a way to contain. Say, hey guys, let's stop the discussion right now. I understand that maybe the discussion is a bit heated. Let's take a break. Everyone can kind of cool down, and then we start it again to see if we can align it. That's a way. For example, in a discussion, you're trying to contain the problem. Why? Because if the discussion keeps escalating, that's going to be an issue there. And what you're going to do next? You need to understand the root cause. Why the stupid analogy of the car again? If you do not know why the car is not working, how you are going to solve the issue? And when I put the analogy of the car, people might say, okay, that's obvious, but there's countless the amount of time that I've seen people trying to solve issues without understanding the root cause, and that kind of stuff happens every day. So why? Because you simply do not understand it. So what you do, you just find a countermeasurement here or containing that will solve kind of will solve the effect of the problem. To put in different words, if like if you are sick and you have a fever, then your doctor gives you a medicine to contain the fever, but you continue to get fever every day, and until the problem there, until the disease is identified and you treat the disease, you are going to continue to have the fever. Even though you can take a medicine to stop the fever will come back a few hours later or maybe the next day. So it's very important here that you understand the root cause. I just give you an analogy about the car, an analogy about medicine. I'm not a doctor, by the way, I'm an engineer. But if you do not understand the root cause, you're not going to be able to treat it. And the same, you're going to face the same problem. Oh, no, 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 again. So it's very important to understand the root cause. And here is, if you do not have the right understanding of the problem, you cannot basically identify the root cause. Then, of course, you can propose solutions and everything else. What is important while you are looking for the root cause, while you are looking to understand your problem there? It's to understand what kind of evidence that you have there. Problem solve needs to be based on evidence, needs to be based on data. And there's different types of evidence that you get. For example, this is a different scale of evidence that you can get from the ones that you have a higher confidence level, like data artifacts, like policies, boards, cards, or anything else that you find out that's more concrete, or you can have observations, things that you've seen yourself, and you can have stories that's something that someone told you. Why it's important? Can you imagine if you try to solve a problem just based on stories? And here I'm not saying that people are telling stories because they are lying to you, but which it's a fact. Everyone will see things based on their own perspective. which means basically the way I see something might be different the way someone else will see it. The way I react, what type of information will be different than the way someone else reacts. So this is quite important that you take into consideration. And I posted this, I think, probably a few days or a couple of weeks ago in my Instagram, and I got some people telling, yeah, people don't care about data. People are just thinking about the storytelling because that's what's motivating them. Looking for evidence does not have anything to do with storytelling, for God's sake. You're trying to solve a problem. You need data to solve a problem. And mainly if you're using a methodology like Lean Six Sigma, that it's data driven. That's why Lean Six Sigma is so valuable there. Basically, if you don't know it, Lean comes from the Toyota production system. And Six Sigma it was developed by Motorola, and Lean Six Sigma it's kind of combination of both, and it's very famous nowadays in manufacturing industries for any type of production, but services in any type of industry basically. Why this is so valuable? Because it's based on data. And of course, I'm not saying that, and be careful when you think about evidence because data is good, but also at some point the data will not tell you everything. Why? Because if you just look for a KPI, it might be that someone wants to make the KPI slightly better than in reality is. If you are looking for data that was measurement, there's also there's also measurement errors that you're going to have there. Measurement error, it's uh, part of any type of measurement. You cannot have any type of measurement without a level of error. Of course, you have acceptance level, but that's a different type of discussion. What I want to tell here, you hear that you need to look for data to understand the problem and to understand the root cause. And there's the different levels of data that you can have. Does it mean just because someone tells you something, you should not trust it? No. You should listen to what people have to tell you, but you need to understand it. That's why when you talk about lean, there's what they call go to Gemba. Gemba basically is the place that the work is being done. Why? Because if someone told you that's a problem there, go and see yourself. Because that will help you to understand the problem that you have there. That might help you to understand the root cause. Look for the artifacts that they have there. Maybe what's the process? Maybe they have what's the workflow that they have there? What kind of checks they have in their workflow, and then look for the data for the process. And when I'm talking about a process, can be a process that is running a manufacturing site, can be a service, but also it's the type of work that we do as knowledge workers there with project management, with design, with developing a process, with managing change. Looking for data is quite important because based on data, the confidence level that you can confirm root cause is much higher than just because someone told you. Because people tell stories based on their perspective, they might not see the full scenario and what you want to understand, what you want to avoid. It's you want to avoid that you try to solve a problem that you don't understand. That's why the first step is always define and describe the problem or clarify the problem, break down the problem. Why? Because you need to understand the problem to solve it. How do you do that in practice with your team? You ask questions. So if your team member comes with a problem, oh well, we have this problem here. Say, okay, can you help me to understand the problem that you have here? Can you explain to me the problem? And say, okay, based on what you said, that's what I understood. What can possibly cause this type of issue there? Or what is creating this type of issue? And there's a different ways that you can use in a problem solving. You can look for Ishikaya diagram or fishbone diagram to help you to give an idea or different types of problem that you have there. Or and then you can look for data in the measurements. You can look for observations, like if because when I work a lot with product development, physical products. For example, yeah, I've worked in the past with developing supply chain. Then you have a connector, for example, a plastic connector there. What type of problem that you have there? Oh, the connector is outside of the specification. How do you know it's outside of the specification? Here is the measurement. Okay, then you check. Okay, is the measurement correct? Was done in a proper way? Can we repeat the measurement to make sure that we are not trying to solve something that does not exist? Those things are part of solving the problem. Those are examples that you can go in a further steps. Same analogy that I give you with the car. Or my car is not working. Okay, you were driving the car and the car stops, or you could not even turn the car in. Oh, I could not even turn the car in. Okay, can you try it to see how it works, to see what kind of noise that you have? Oh, maybe it looks like the battery. Let's check the level of energy in the battery. Then you check the level of energy in the battery and say, oh, the battery is low, the battery is dead. Then you replace it. Then you say, okay, that's the problem why your car is not working. Or you check the battery, oh no, the battery is good. Do you have fuel? Yes, I have fuel. So let's go for the next step to try to identify, to try to better understand the problem, but also to try to identify the root cause. It's very important that when you talk about problem solving, you work in a structured way. What means a structured way? A lot of times you have problems and you are under pressure, and people start to run around to take actions there. Oh, let's solve this, let's do that. But wait, let's first think about it. Are we solving the problem? What's the root cause of the problem here? Oh, the root cause of the problem, for example, that I had in one of the products that I have, we had a problem when measurement a part and it was outside of a specification. Let's understand what's the root cause instead of trying to solve it and jump having a lot of other discussions on changing specifications and so on. Let's take a look. Why the problem is outside of the specification? Oh, actually, the way we defined the specification there was not in a proper way. So it was a roughly estimation, and then we end up with this outside of specification. So we cannot change the specification. We need the first step is make sure that we would properly define the limits in the specification. Okay, we did it. Let's measure the problem, the product again. Oh, now it's on the specification. Okay, now it's good. Or it's outside of specification. Okay, now we make sure that the specifications are correct. We make sure that the measurement is correct. Now it makes sense to talk about the specifications. But if you do the jump and you do not check the further steps, you are making a problem. And I just mentioned, like on the analogy of the car, this case, I just mentioned the case of a connector. I've had in one of the projects in the past that there was a lot of discussion. Oh, the product is outside of spec again. We are going to need to change the tool, and the tool it's of course a physical thing. To change the tool would take another 3 or 4 weeks plus producing new parts plus measurement and so on. Extra cost, delay for the project, and okay, before doing that, can we confirm the measurement is correct? So what we did in this occasion, because the lab that was measuring there was a new lab, and we had a lot of errors in their measurement, we sent to another lab because we had the internal lab for the company, we had a supplier lab, and then we have another company lab here. Guess what? In the third lab that was already established for a long time, they got the same results as the supplier. So they showed that the part was not outside of spec was not there. So instead of jumping into a lot of conclusions trying to solve it, understand if you what's the problem that you have at your hand. Then this is and that's why those methods are so important because you put structure. And that's why you see if you look for the PDCA here, most of the actions are in the planned area because why you're trying to understand the problem. And that's why you have here it's not shown, but that's why you always have the step that needs to be very well done. Define the problem and understand the root cause. And depending on the situations, yes, you need to contain the problem, which happens quite often in projects. Why contain the problem is important. And I've seen that, for example, give another example here. That from another project manager that he comes to say, oh, my project is delayed 6 months. Then he was preparing for an escalation meeting, and he starts to say, okay, that's the root cause. Say, forget about the root cause at this point. Contain the problem first. How do you contain the problem? You cannot go to an escalation meeting, high level directors, general managers there and say, oh, my project 6 months delayed. And you start a very sad story, because there's poor understanding on the specifications. I know at this stage, no one cares. Why? Because the house is burning. Control the fire first. What you can do to try to put that in place, on action again, on track again. And with that, of course, you are going later on, you can investigate the root cause, understand how you can avoid this type of problem in the future. But don't waste your time to try to jump on different solutions if it does not make sense. Don't waste your time, or waste your time between branches. If the house is burning, contain the problem first instead of going to the root cause analysis. This is very important steps to solve any type of problem. If you don't do that, you're going to face challenges in all problem solving. And again, everyone, you are paid to solve problems. Bigger the problems that you can solve, higher you're going to be your value. So you want to increase your value, because if you can solve big problems, also will mean that you can progress and be promoted in your career. So that's what you want. But have a good understanding on how a good problem solving work. It's very important. So understand the problem. Maybe you need to contain the problem, identify the root cause, and then you start to think about solutions only after you identify, you describe, and you verify the root cause. And the verify is also so important, because if you go to like a fishbone diagram, you have several possibilities for as a root cause, but the fishbone diagram is not there to make a conclusion. It's there to help you to think, to identify and describe the root cause. But what you need to verify the root cause, you need data. And you need data that you can trust. So don't listen what people have to say, but always go there and see yourself, understand what kind of artifact, and if you have anything that would support your root cause. And then, of course, understand if you have data, or if you don't have it, try to collect data that support your root cause investigation there. Don't forget to like and share this video here, because if you do that, you help more people. It help the social, help me and the social media to see the value in this video and deliver to more people, and more people can learn project management. If you are struggling with your project management career, since maybe you do not understand how you start, maybe you're struggling with a specific content, or maybe you're struggling to develop your skills or to progress in your career, I'm here to support you, because if your goal is to develop your project management skills, my goal is to support you in this journey. Thank you and see you soon. Bye.